Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Casey's offers a wide selection of plants, landscaping materials, home and garden decor, and gifts for every occasion. Casey's is committed to providing exceptional service, a unique shopping experience, and value to every customer. Stop in and see what makes Casey's so unique. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana, or call 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home.
All right, hey guys, what's going on back here? Doing another show with you guys here, sitting here with Merle. How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
The king of the mics.
See,
Yes. I've always said we got to come up with a good name.
The king of the mics.
King of the mics. How you doing, Merle?
I'm doing good.
That's good.
I'm up and at 'em. I'm moving. I'm grooving. It's all good.
Awesome. Well, so I hope you guys are having a good week out there. We are back doing another show today.
Yeah, what are we going to do today?
Today, we are going to talk about something that if I were to go back 80 plus years ago when Merle was born.
Wait.
I bet you, Merle, I bet you when you came out, your dad was like, golly, that boy ain't my son. He is not mine. He did, didn't he?
This is an awesome way to start a show. So, like, you're saying that at my birth, my dad was rejecting me. Is that what you're saying?
I'm thinking your dad just looked at you and said, "There's no way, this ugly thing could be my son."
If my mom were here right now, she'd slap you right across the face.
Your mom probably claimed you.
No, absolutely, she did. Oh, that's funny. Well, I don't know. I've never actually talked to my dad about whether he rejected me at birth or not. I don't think he'd admit it if he did. But now that you're done trash talking me and everything like that, that gets us into our topic today.
Yep.
This is a tough topic, but man, this is something that there's probably not a house out there, and especially us as dads, that doesn't experience a level of this topic of what we're going to talk about. Today we're going to talk about the idea of how do you father, or what happens in the process of fathering when you have a kid who is not at all like you, who's not wired like you, who has different interests than you, who approaches life differently than you. How do you parent, or how do you father that kid? Because if not done well, it can actually go 180 degrees on you and totally blow up.
Yeah.
It can be disastrous and really messy. So, by the way, my dad did like me. We have a lot in common. I'm actually named after him. So if he didn't like me that much, he wasted a whole name on him. How would you like to be called Merrill? Maybe he did not like me, right?
Speaking of people rejecting your dad rejecting you, right? So my younger brother is named Timmy, or Tim, right? And my dad's name is Tim.
Oh,
and
so
I'm the firstborn. They skipped
skip
me. So maybe when I came out, they were like, "Yeah, we don't really reject him."
Don't waste a good name. Don't waste a good name. Move it to the next one. Well, at least they didn't name your sister Timmy.
Oh, that's true. Well, yeah. So this is just before we hit the record button, man. We were just talking, and this is going to be a tough topic. I know for me, and just kind of you started talking a little bit about your adopted kiddos and some of the differences that there.
Yeah.
And I venture to say, a majority of you dads out there, one way or another, there's something that your kids do, or some demeanor or temperament that they have that is like, man, I can't see that in I that's not me. We that part of you, we don't have a whole lot in common, right? I know for me, I have two girls, so
yeah, the gender thing even gets crazier. Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll get into it. But before we do that, we probably should thank our sponsors.
Oh, we better do that. Yeah.
I think the last couple of times we've forgotten. So
we're catching up. All right. So first, we want to thank Crimer's Beer House for coming alongside of Strong Dads. We want to thank Mark and his crew down there, located on Route 128 outside of Cleves. So go down there and get yourself a nice meal and a great setting down at the Crimer's Beer House.
Awesome. Sounds good. We'd also love to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions for coming along alongside of us. Really do appreciate them. Check them out. I know the fall season is here, and the weather's getting ready to change here, hopefully later than sooner.
Definitely later.
But yeah, go down to Casey's Outdoor Solutions, check them out, let them know we sent you down there, and we really do appreciate those sponsors for coming alongside of us.
All right, so let me ask you a serious question.
All right.
So growing up, were you and your dad wired pretty similarly? Were you guys connected in how you go about life?
My dad and I are alike in a lot of ways, but then we also have a lot of differences. Like my dad is, for the most part, he's more of an introvert. He's more of kind of keeps to himself and doesn't really want to engage in conversation.
Yeah.
Where for me, I love talking to people. But then on the flip side of that, man, I know for sure my competitiveness and I want to win and everything. I know that came from my dad. I remember watching Kentucky basketball and my dad screaming at the TV and like just letting the refs have it, right? And I find myself doing the exact same thing now.
That's why you got that disgusting mug on our table there. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
Oh, see, your dad contaminated you.
Yes, and well, there's another thing. So, right, but yes, just competitiveness and sports and athletics. I definitely got that from my dad. Absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
What about you?
Yeah. So my dad and I are wired a lot alike when it comes to wanting to be around people.
Sure.
Everybody always liked my dad, and he was social that way.
Not everyone likes you.
Yeah. Well, let me just say this. I like being around people.
Okay,
how about that? So whether they like me or not, that's on them. But wow, you are just loaded today. I'm feeling really blessed here. Right, this is great. I can't wait to do another show with Kyle. Lift me up, baby. But no, like my dad was very hands-on physical.
Yeah.
So he was always working with his hands, always doing that kind of thing. Me and my brothers all kind of picked that up. We like to build things, do stuff like that. My dad was always a greater risk taker than I was.
Okay.
I got a little bit of that less risky from my mom, like needing some things to be a little bit more secure.
Okay.
Which that's actually ended up being a pretty good balance because my dad got reckless a few times, not just a few times, quite a few times. So yeah, but there's a lot of similarity to my dad and I on a lot of levels. Yeah. So that we never felt like we bumped heads.
That's good. I know you say he's very ornery right now.
He is very ornery, and he's ornerier than I am. I will say that. Like he makes me laugh with his orneriness, but he was a tough dude when he was younger, and I was just never like that sort of tough.
Yeah.
Like he could start a fight and finish it and be okay with it. And
yeah.
that just always like, no, that's really not of me.
Yep.
So
well, that's good stuff. Let's get into the show a little bit, man. I think like I said before, I think this topic hopefully resonates with you guys out there. I know for sure it does with me because this is a struggle that I go through every day raising two girls. So when we talk about the difference in our kids, just like you were saying, bro, man, that gender is the obvious one. That's the one we can't get away from. We talk about the activities and like I said, the attitude and the temperament of our kids and how this can be difficult, but hopefully the point of this show that we get across is that as strong dads, we believe it is our job to, not always have to say like, okay, for example, like right now, Ava is really into arts. So for me as a strong dad, I can't say, Ava, you're not going to do arts. We're going to do athletics because that's what daddy wants to do.
Right, yeah.
And just getting into the idea that man, we have to obviously, we have to we have to nurture our kids and allow them to do different things than what maybe we're comfortable with. I'm not comfortable with the art world at all, But I also understand that if I push, we tried basketball. I just wanted to see if Ava wanted to do basketball, and she didn't. But if I continue to push her in that and say, well, Daddy does basketball, and that's what Daddy wants to do, like, she's going to reject that, and it's not going to go well.
Right. Yeah, I just have to admit, too, like, I do this stuff for a living, working with dads and parents and stuff like that. But in my own home, I find this to be a very challenging thing. And I find it to be challenging because of my selfishness. Yeah. Like, in other words, always first desire is to see things through my eyes. And so even though we're talking about this, I don't look at this as a piece of cake. This is a challenge for me. But I think to set the stage up, and to kind of humble ourselves into what we're actually going after today is that whole idea. People desire kids, right? I mean, they desire kids. You can't. I know Linda and I couldn't wait to have kids. Yep. We were excited about it. And in Psalm 127:3, it says, "Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb a reward." And that's, this goes back to the beginning of mankind, that children are the first fruit of what you come together to produce with your wife. And so for that reason, they are something special, okay? But we lose sight, especially in a selfish world that we're in, we lose sight of how we interact with them. And so the call out today is this. Dads, first off, before you get yourself all wrapped up in being confused or upset or not quite getting why your kid is the way they are, the first idea here is you're the adult. You chose to have the child. The child did not choose to have you. You are in the position here of having the responsibility to do this well. All right? This is not about how well the child plays with you. This is about how well you play with the child. You are in that position. So the first thing is, as you just said, like, stop trying to pull your kid into being as you are. You are the adult. You need to go, what do I need to do to play well with this child?
And the overarching, theme of this should be that, man, as a dad, one of the greatest responsibilities that we will ever have in this world is to raise kids. And how easily we can screw that up. And on the flip side of that, it's not always easy, but the importance and the significance that it is to be present, be active, admit when you're wrong, admit when you've done something, when you have pushed your kids a little too far and they reject that. But man, the significance when it comes to this idea of knowing that our kids are different, and just what you said, Merle, that, man, they didn't choose to have us as our parents, right? Like, we chose to have kids, and it is the massive responsibility to actually be in that, and we're gonna fail in it. Obviously, I fail in this very topic quite often because I'm dealing with two girls that I don't know what it's like to be a girl. But man, I understand that the significant role that being their dad is going to play in their overall life.
Right. So we're talking a little bit, like, in my mind, the differences are usually like in things we like to do together, right? But the differences run far and wide. They're in our temperaments, our academic interests, our different activities that we'd like to do with sports or art clubs or dance or whatever, our personality. Yeah. I mean, there's how we problem solve. Like, my younger Zach, who's actually coming to visit this weekend, which was always fun. Zach and I always problem solved differently.
Okay.
So when we were working on a project together, it was always better that we were on two different places and we would just meet for lunch, because we problem solve differently, and it's not right or wrong. It's just that we go about it differently, and that always caused tension when we were together trying to do a project, and so that's what we're just talking about. Like, there's so many different areas of difference that can arise in this relationship, and as the adult, I have to wrap my head around, okay, well, what does this look like, and where is it causing issues, and go from there. So I want us to let's talk about how we can help strong dads to make the best of this, to get through this.
I like it. Yep. So, man, I think one of the kind of the starting places is, man, we have to recognize, like, you obviously have to know your likes and your dislikes, knowing you yourself, because I think this is important. You know, if we are, you know, don't have necessarily like for me, I know I love athletics, right? I know for sure that's me, and to bring Ava and Mia into that world, you know, if that's one of my likes and I don't get the same response from them that I'm wanting, man, if I continue to push that on them, it's not going to go well. There's going to be a massive rejection. So I think the first thing is to know your likes, and then with that, know the way in which that like that you have, that you know, your likes and dislikes, knowing what those are, and then knowing how and which, like, because that, you know, athletics, the competition, that motivates me.
Right.
That gets me going. I want to win, and I have to recognize when Ava doesn't have that same mentality. When if she loses, right?
Yeah.
And so I think the first thing is to recognize what your likes and your dislikes are.
Yeah, it's perfect. So your first job is to recognize how you're wired, right? What motivates you, what gets you rolling, how you function. I think it's important. But then the second part, then, especially, you know, you can start to see this at a pretty early age. You know, in the age of 1.5 and 2, you'll start to even see temperament type things come up out of your kid, even sometimes younger than that, where the idea of whether they tend to get frustrated easily. Even as infants, they get frustrated easily. Maybe they cry a lot, or maybe they're always smiling and always happy. You know, we get these kiddos that you're like, man, it just is a happy kid. You know, you can start to see their temperaments early on. But you, as the dad, you need to spend a little bit of time figuring out, like, just like yourself, what motivates you, what you're interested in. Just look and see what motivates your kid. All right.
Yep.
What makes them smile? What makes them get upset? So those are the two very important things, because when you do that, you can then start to see where we are similar and where we are different, versus being surprised. Like, I don't know why they're that way. You know, in our house, we always say, oh, they must be your side of the family, right? Whenever something is conflicting, you're like, oh, they got that from your side of the family.
I do that every time one of the girls are like in one of their moods or something. I'm like, Jenny, your daughter, she's acting this way. She's not mine today.
No, my daughter would never do that. My daughter would.
Well, this next point, man, I've heard you talk about this before. So to, you know, get into the idea of celebrating the similarities.
Yeah, I go back to this time and time again. Whether we're raising our kids or whether we're having social crises and issues in this country, as we often are, I just feel like we screw up the whole idea about how human nature is when we talk about we must celebrate diversity. Diversity is not where we start. It is where we want to go, all right?
Sure.
But it is not where we start.
Yep.
So the first thing we do when we're talking about this with our kids are, okay, yeah, you know, my kid is wired differently than me. Mm-hmm. I do notice that they like this and I would rather like that or whatever. So the first thing I do is I really start to look and see, how can we celebrate similarity, not celebrate diversity? Just take it off the table right now.
You're saying early on, right?
Early on, yep. I need to start to see, where are we similar?
Yep.
Like, what are some of the activities that we do have in common and like to do? Types of foods and entertainment and sports, education, faith. Like, are there conversations that the two of you can have, even though maybe your daughter likes art and you like sports, but both of you really enjoy talking about Jesus? Okay, hey, there we go.
Yeah.
We got something in common, okay?
Right.
So we're looking for commonality, because commonality is where we build from. Commonality is where we have the opportunity to build a relationship. And if we strictly look at diversity or difference, it will be confusing and conflicting. All right. And so we're not ready to celebrate diversity at this point. We have to build relationship first.
Yep. Well, I think that's a great point, because if you try and do that and celebrating that diversity, man, you're already starting off. you're starting off behind the eight ball.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're maybe not necessarily doomed for failure, but it's going to be very difficult to find those common grounds when you're early on, just celebrating those differences. So I think that's definitely a really good point there, man. I think when we talk about this idea, man, I think the way in which we approach this idea of celebrating similarities, because if you celebrate those common things that you have, which is absolutely 100% something we should be doing, even if it's something so small, man, enjoy those times. Like I have tried the sports world with Ava, and it just didn't really work out. And what I end up doing is like, hey, let's just try golf.
Yeah.
Something a little bit less, competition wise. And man, Ava and I have loved it. It has been so good for our relationship. We have found a common thing. She has gravitated to it. It has been something, because it was hard early on, when we're trying to expose Ava to a lot of different things. And naturally I wanted to expose her to things that I enjoy, which is probably a fault of mine, because those are things I'm like, I'm not sure what you want to do. So let's just try, sports out, basketball, soccer, all the things that I did. And she just didn't take to it. Right. So I kind of had to take a step back and realize that my approach that I'm having with her was not working. And so try to take a step back, something a little bit less competitive, because I know that she just doesn't have a competitive spirit to her, early right now. So we tried golf, and it is, like I said, man, it has been so good. Where on the flip side of that, and I think that's something that needs to be noted, that like we've talked about this many times, that our kids are going to have different interests.
Right.
And we need to approach our kids differently. Like I know with Mia, she's a little bit more fierce. Like she's a little bit more like, I'm going to knock you over if I want that ball, where Ava is going to be a little bit more passive about it.
Right.
So I approach my girls different. And this is something that, and I think all you strong dads out there, this is something as our kids move into different stages in their life, man, we need to move into different stages as dads. Like we need to recognize that, okay, Ava's in this place, I'm going to approach her this way. And in 2-3 years from now, she may be in a completely different place. And I need to adjust, because again, we chose to have kids. They didn't choose to have us as our parents.
Yeah, the challenge for change is on us, not them, right? The challenge is on us because of our position in the parent realm. So I think it's really important. I think it's also, as you talked about, like looking for those different activities or interests or commonalities. They may not seem like big things, all right? So like maybe you could spend a lot of time in the athletic world coaching and doing all that, spending a lot of time. But it might be with one of your kids that you share a common sense of humor, right? Like little inside jokes that maybe no one else in the family gets, but you two get.
Right.
It's looking at even the little things that you have in common, and you as the father going, you know what, we just get each other. We get each other in that line, and then build that, like make it bigger. Use it more often. My daughter and I was teasing her. This is the daughter thing, right? So she's a girl. I'm a guy. This is our first daughter ever. And I'm like, usually my head's spinning because I'm like, what in the world are you even doing here? I don't get this. But that idea of we can make each other laugh.
Yep.
And she doesn't want to know that I made her laugh. Like she'll cover her face. And I'm like, oh no, I got you on this one. Yeah. And so we send each other little text messages or pictures back and forth. And it's usually something totally stupid that if you looked at my phone or anyone else, you'd be like, what's the point there? But she and I will start laughing when we get these. Yeah. And again, I'm just trying to make a connection, because the connection is the point of the relationship. Because when there is a storm, when there is a difficult time, it hopefully will give me enough footing that I can weigh in and be of value through that difficult time. That's what this is about.
I love it. Yeah, this next point, this is something that as I have learned to really appreciate the girls' differences, because again, we found the similarities that we do have. I have odds and ends things with the girls that I love, but man, the differences, something as a strong dad, we need to understand that, man, we have to respect those. And we need not only do we need to respect them, like we can't talk bad about the differences. And this is hard for me, because Ava is very in the arts world, and she's into that, and I love that she is. But that is a world that I know nothing about.
Right.
I know nothing about it, and if I were to, when Ava is excited about that, even if I'm not necessarily talking bad about that, if I dismiss it and kind of just let her talk and then completely change the subject and I don't engage her in that, man, I'm missing out on that. And this is something I'm learning because, again, that is a huge difference. The competitiveness in the athletic world versus the arts world is miles apart in where I'm from. And that's something that I need to recognize, like, okay, there is a massive difference here, but I also need to celebrate Ava in this. I need to understand that what she is interested in, although it doesn't interest me, it should interest me because it interests her.
Yeah.
And as her dad, I need to respect that that's what she wants to do, and I can't roll my eyes when she starts talking about that. I can't, even if it is talking to Jenny about it, like, I can express my concerns with it, but man, I have to always understand that I've talked about it before, Ava's reputation and her heart are my two top priorities.
Right.
And if I were to dismiss and negatively talk bad about what she is interested in, man, that's going to trickle into being around her. And then I may say something around her. And then what does that say about me as a dad that I don't accept her for the interest that she does have? Like, I don't always necessarily have to, which I think we're going to get into here in a little bit, I don't always have to necessarily agree with what she's doing, but man, I have to love Ava for what she is doing, like who she is.
Yeah, man, you hit me with that. So I'm talking about how I handle my kids' differences, right? Dismissing and despising what they do really comes to mind here, because sometimes what they do actually even bothers us, right?
Yeah.
When it's different. In Matthew 18:10, it says, "See that you do not despise one of these little ones. For I tell you that in heaven their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven." So what do I mean by despise? Like, when our youngest son, he is athletic, he likes athletics, but he drifts towards athletics that either I'm not good at or never had experience in. And one of them was skateboarding.
Okay.
And he just jumped into all the skateboarding stuff. And that generation missed me, right? I'm a little too old. That's probably your generation. That one missed me.
It was. I did not engage in that, but yes.
Yeah. And I found myself at first like, you don't want to skate. It's just blah, blah, blah. And I was like, shut up. No, that's what he's into. And so I found myself dismissing his interest just because I didn't quite get it. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how we actually then approach the difference. So we talked about the commonalities and similarities and how important those are. And those are the basic building blocks, right? We've got to get those established and build from them. But then we can't just act like the differences don't exist.
Yep.
So a couple of different things. When you recognize the difference, treat it, as you said before, Kyle, treat it with respect. All right? Don't talk bad about it. Especially to them, but especially when they can be in earshot of you, right? Because they'll get your true gut feeling on it.
Yep.
Like when you're talking to a friend of yours, whatever, and you say something, yeah, my son's doing that ridiculous skateboarding thing or something like that. They hear that, man, and now they know that now you're a hypocrite, okay? And so trying to always respect the difference that they show.
Yep, and then with that respect, man, we've talked about celebrating the similarities, but we have to celebrate those differences. And part of, in my view of this, is part of that celebrating the differences is, man, we have to be engaged in whatever their interests are. So with the arts that Ava, is really interested, I have to show an interest in it, and I need to learn about that world, right? As foreign as that may seem to me, I need to jump in with both feet, right? I mean, that's what my daughter wants to do. And if we're to celebrate those differences and we're supposed to engage as a strong dad, man, I think it's my duty as her dad to want to know about that, to get my hands dirty with the clay, right? If that's what she's doing, like, I'm in that with her, and for her to see me hopefully engage in that will really empower her and give her a sense that, yeah, daddy's got my back.
Yeah.
Because I think that's so important. Our kids, I think they are always striving for our approval. I know for me, I remember in the middle of a basketball game, I'd be running up the court looking at my dad like, did he see me? Did he see me make that pass?
Yeah.
So I think our kids are always naturally wanting our approval. And if we don't, on top of maybe not celebrating those differences, but if we don't engage in whatever their interests are, I think we're really missing the mark when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And this is going to be hard for me. Like, because it's such a foreign world to me, this is going to be really difficult for me. And I don't think it's necessarily bad to tell your kids that. I'm going to have a conversation with Ava and be like, Ava, what you're doing, I love that you are interested in this. Daddy is not. So you're going to need to show me a little bit of grace here, because when you're involved in this and you want to talk about it, early on, I may not have a whole lot to engage in that. I want to engage. I want to be a part of that conversation. But early on, it's going to be hard for me because I know nothing about this world.
Yeah. So I like to point out how much better at that they are than I am.
Yeah.
Like, wow, like I'm not even near, like I have no clue what you're even doing. I'm not very good at that, because right away your kids get that idea like, wow, I must be pretty good if I'm better than dad at this.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
so the idea of pointing out that you are not as good as they are at that particular activity or way of approaching things. And so now, once you point out how good they are, the idea that you have an interest in learning about it. So one of the things that you can do is say, teach me, show me. All right. Yeah. Like it was quite the trick when my son was showing me how to ride a skateboard. All right. Like, yeah, okay, I need a helmet. I need shin guards. But the idea that I'd say, well, show me how you're doing that. Yeah. Man, right away, his eyes just light up, like, because when you ask to be taught, that makes them feel like the master. Yeah. Like, yeah, man, I know how to do this. All right. So ask them to teach you. Get into their world and talk to people that they learn from, right? Whether it's their coach, the idea that you talk to their coach and say, hey, what do I need to learn about this? How can I help my kid? So showing an interest in doing those kind of things and learning about it and letting your kid actually kind of guide you in that and how they approach it is a huge feeder back to them, meaning that they're valuable.
Yep. And with that, just a quick point on that, I can see myself doing this. If you engage your kids in that way and say, hey, show me how to make this drawing that you're doing right now for Ava, using Ava as an example, like if I were to tell her to show me, and then when I fail at it because I'm not good at that world, if I were to be like, oh, whatever, that's what you're doing. Again, going back to that first point of we're not respecting that then.
Right.
Because I can see myself doing that when I fail at something, because Ava is much better at arts than I am. Like if I engage her in that sense and I have her show me something and I'm not good at it, because I know for me, when I'm not good at something, I typically just like, okay, well, I'm done.
Avoid it. Yeah.
Avoid it, right? But if we do that with when it comes to this, the differences in our kids, man, I think we're just missing opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I got a tough one for you here.
Oh boy.
Okay. So what do we do in a situation where our kid has an interest or does something that, one, we don't agree with or we're not good at or we don't have any interest in, but two, it goes against God's word? All right. So a lot of times, maybe it's, oh, Dad, you feel that way about smoking pot because that's your generation. In my generation, it's now practically legal halfway around the world, so you don't get it. Or how about this? Dad, I'm gay. All right, I'm gay, so you need to accept me for who I am. All right? These are the tough differences. These are the tough differences. And so I do think it's just to be fair to this conversation, we need to at least approach this and to do this in a way where, okay, we have a system for how we're going to process this stuff, right? What I'd like to say is, you're listening to Strong Dads. We are a faith-based ministry. And what that means is we do the best we can to ground our thinking in God's word, right? So when your kid or anyone for that matter does something that goes against God's word, his nature, right? That's not the time for you to say, oh, okay, we're going to celebrate this. We're going to celebrate it. I need to separate my kid from the activity or interest that they have. Now, your kid will have a hard time doing that, right? That's called that whole identity thing,
Sure.
right? Like, well, if I'm gay, then that means that's who I am through and through. No, actually, you're a lot more than just being gay. You're a child of God, okay? You have all these other things going for you. You are not just gay, all right? And so the idea that first I have to separate the difference from the child, and then the difference is what I have to actually measure against God's word. When something goes against God's word, and so I'll just stick here with the homosexuality thing, all right? And because we deal with this in our office, and it's a tough one, right? Like, this is something that they've been battling in the home, and now it's the risk of separation in the home because maybe the child who feels like they've never been accepted because they expressed that they were gay, and a parent or both parents rejected them. How do I handle that? All right. It is important that we lay out, and again, it doesn't mean they're going to understand it. So just wrap your head around that. They may not understand it because they may have trapped themselves in the identity of their activity.
Yep.
All right. But we are going to express that I have you as identifying as my child, not by an activity. All right. So expressing, I love you.
Yeah.
You are my child. I care about you. But because I care about you, I will not endorse anything that goes against God's word.
Yep.
All right. That does not mean I reject them. I reject the activity. And again, it may mean that your child rejects you because they may not be able to separate you from that. Okay. But that idea that I would not just succumb to the idea of, okay, well, if the only way I can have a relationship with you is to endorse and support your gay lifestyle, all right, or your drug habits, all right, or for that matter, any way that you how you spend money, how you spend time, any of these things that violate what God would have us do is something that I have to separate in my kids' mind. I have to help explain that.
Yeah, this is a tough topic to tackle. This idea, man. I'm sure most of you strong dads out there, similar to myself, have thought about this very idea of the homosexuality and what do I do if my kids do come to me and say that this is the lifestyle that they are in. And I think honestly, it's got to go back to one of the very first points that we made, that as a dad, you raising kids and being involved and being engaged is going to be one of the most significant roles you will ever have in your life. And if we dismiss or if we completely outcast our kids because of the lifestyle that they have chose, again, we don't have to approve of it because, again, going back to God's word and using that as our foundation. But man, if we completely disown that, we will never be able to nurture and help our kids grow, and we will massively, massively miss. And I'll be the first to tell you, God forbid this happens in my life, that one of my girls approach me and say those words. Like, it's going to take a long time for I know for myself, and I'm sure for Jenny to realize that this is what they have chosen. But man, if I outcast them and push them aside because of the actions that they are doing, man, I don't think that is ever in God's nature. We talk about God's nature. God's nature is not of homosexuality. He doesn't approve of it. But God is all about love.
Right.
And if we miss those opportunities to love our kids in their messiness, man, what does that say about us as dads? Like, yes, my kid has chosen a lifestyle that I disapprove of and I don't think God approves of. But if I completely reject them and essentially disown them, I also don't think that is what God wants for us.
So the key here is maintaining the relationship.
Yep.
I mean, I have no ability to impact positively, at least my child, their life, their practices, if I've lost the relationship. And so we do talk about putting conditions on relationships. We all have conditions on relationships. And so I want to keep the relationship. Again, like I said before, my child, adult child maybe at that point, may not be able to separate it. Right. And that's part of their journey. That's part of their walk. They might be able to say, you accept me for everything and approve of everything, which is really very immature because obviously we would never do that to anyone. Like, you accept every single thing about me. Otherwise, I can't even be in relationship with you, okay? But teaching them, hey, at some point in time, sometimes you have to learn to put the differences aside, and you have to acknowledge certain topics that maybe can't be discussed, but there's something deeper than just that topic, that activity, that interest that you have in common.
Yep. Man, that's we finished really heavy there, Merle. We
lighten it up, lighten it up.
Yeah, so golly, man, I hope again that this topic resonated with you guys. I hope there was something there that you could connect to, that you put yourself in those situations where your kid is presenting you with an activity that they're wanting to engage in, and you're like, man, I know nothing about that world. But man, I hope after this conversation that we've had, I hope that you realize it, and hopefully it's enlightening, because I know it is for me, like just the idea that we need to be intentional, that again, the most significant role that you're going to play in your kid's life is to be their parent, to be their dad, and be intentional, engage in that, celebrate the similarities that you do have, but also celebrate those differences, and like jump in with both feet, engage in that, see what that world is all about. So I think this upcoming week, let's really start to evaluate the differences that we do have with our kids, look at those and engage in them, find the similarities that you do have with our kids, and also find the differences, because I'm sure there's going to be quite a few. I know there is for me. Yeah.
So the idea of being intentional, right, in this whole practice, the idea of recognizing that our kids are a gift, and they're like a seed, right, and they're going to grow and they're going to produce fruit. What kind of fruit are they going to produce?
Yeah.
And so you are the nurturer of that fruit production, and so do it well. That's your responsibility. So again, we do want to just, hopefully we challenge you guys, but hopefully this conversation is something that, if it is alive in your mind, that it is something that you explore deeper, and that you, as the adult, the man, the strong dad, that you actually dig in and figure out how you're going to do it well. So
could be a good dinner conversation, dinner table conversation. Talk about
it,
man.
Absolutely.
I like it.
Yeah. So we want to thank you guys for listening. Hey, if you like Strong Dads, you like what we're about here in terms of just promoting good, strong, healthy Christian dads, please give us a 5-star rating. Please share our show. We need you guys in the end of spreading messages. And so help us to get this job done. Also, we want to thank our sponsors again. We want to thank Crimer's Beer House and Casey's Outdoor Solutions for coming alongside of us and continuing to help and promote what we do as strong dads.
Well, Merle, after this whole show, I hope your dad didn't reject you.
Yeah.
I hope you popped out in this world, and I hope he just gave you the biggest hug and just, you're my boy. You're my boy.
Yeah. I think he always did something like, it'll be okay, son. It'll be okay. I think he was just trying to reaffirm himself that he was going to get through it all.
Anyways, really appreciate you guys. Go out there and be some strong dads.
Wow, you just beat me up in this show. Wow, like I'm worthless now. My daddy doesn't even like me.
Hey, this is Kyle Crawford from Strong Dads. Strong Dads podcast would love to thank the Crimer's Beer House for coming alongside of us. The Crimer's Beer House was started in 1982 by the Crimer family, and since that time, they have definitely become a Cincinnati favorite. So if you're looking for an incredible meal in an incredible setting, definitely go down to Route 128 and check out the Crimer's Beer House.